Don't you run from me. Don't you run from me, lizard.
I always knew I wanted to work with animals. And when I was an undergraduate at Howard University, there was one snail guy and a fish guy. But then there was only like one animal person, and he was working with lizards. And so I was like, well, lizards it is. So these are one of my favorite lizard species, if not my favorite. They're so beautiful, and they were actually the first species that I ever had a chance to work with. Lizards, we're on the same schedule. They're out around 8, which means I don't have to wake up until like 7. Perfect. We just ended up meshing together. We work. Hi, I'm Earyn McGee, aka Afro Herper. I'm a PhD student at the University of Arizona studying natural resources. I'm interested in lizards and their diets. I want to know what they're eating. Right behind me is the first friend of the day, a little tiny itty bitty, it's like this big, side-blotched lizard. I'm also interested in increasing the representation of Black women in natural resources, so understanding barriers preventing entry and preventing retention of Black women in these careers. There are just so many of these tiny babies out. That's why you really have to kind of look where you're going to see the wildlife, because they're everywhere. Look at them. It's just a cutie. Can you find that lizard? Do you see it? Do y'all see what I'm seeing? How cute. Just the cutest. Find That Lizard is a game that I post on social media, so Twitter and Instagram, and I post a picture of a lizard camouflaged in its natural environment, and with the photo there are some facts about the lizards, and most of the time those facts are clues as to where to look in the photo for the lizard, and people have about 4 hours to find the lizard in the photo. If I asked you, what do lizards eat, you'd probably be like insects. And you'd be right, but like, where do those insects come from? For the most part, we don't know. So I wanted to know, are the lizards eating insects that are completely terrestrial, or are they eating aquatic insects, so insects that spend their larval stage in water and then emerge into the terrestrial landscape, and then potentially becoming food for other species, bats, birds, and then of course lizards, because no one has really looked at that. And then here in the Southwest, where we're experiencing a lot of drought, a lot of stream drying, if there's no place for these insects to lay their eggs and live out the first part of their life stage, they can never become adults and enter the terrestrial world, which means that the lizards might not have enough food to eat. People think of lizards and they think of desert, they think of creatures that can, survive extreme temperatures, and that's all true, but even with lizards, they have a heat threshold. So if it gets too hot and they're not able to properly bring their body temperatures back down, they're gonna overheat and die. So you will see like lizard populations moving up in elevation, which means that species are getting pushed off the top of the mountain because they have nowhere else to go. As a kid, I was the weirdo in the family. I was like very into my books. I was just like, well, don't talk to me. I'm going to my room, closing the door, and I'm reading this book, and I'm reading it until tomorrow. So please do not disturb. When I was growing up, I never thought that I could be a scientist in the way that I am now. Like when you think of a scientist, you kind of think of, like I would think of like an old white man in like the tweed jacket with the elbow patches and like a white lab coat, but there's so many different definitions to what a scientist is and what a scientist can look like and the type of science that a scientist does. And so I kind of want to open the doors to like show there's so many possibilities besides, what we're just shown in TV, because it's not really representative to the reality of what a scientist is or looks like. I brought with me today my prop lizard so that I can show you guys how I lasso a lizard. So a lasso consists of a fishing pole or some kind of stick that you can hang a line off of, and at the end of the line there is a slip knot, and the slip knot is what you want to get over the lizard's head. Think of like if there was a hybrid sport between like lassoing cows and going fishing. I extend the lasso out as much as I need it to be, and then I try To get the lasso over the lizard's head, it can be a bit challenging because the further away the line gets from you, the harder it becomes to see. But then once it's over the head, I have the lizard. And then once you catch it, you always want to give it some support. You don't want to let it just dangle.
Y'all, right behind me, right there, there's a lizard. I promise you, it's a lizard on the tree. I was skeptical at first myself. I was walking and I was like, what is that? It looks like a little piece off of the branch, but it looks kind of weird. What is that? What? And then it moved and I was like, oh, that is a lizard. And I was like, okay, I need to get a picture for everybody for Find That Lizard. Oh yeah, that's what I like to see. Lizards.
When I went to Howard my freshman year, I had no idea that people like studied lizards. I just thought that all those kinds of questions were like answered. I was like, there, I could go on Google and figure out the answer to this question, and nobody else is like interested in this stuff anymore. My second semester, I got into this program called the Environmental Biology Scholars. So I got to go out and actually be an ecologist in real life, and that was like my aha moment, oh, this is truly, like, they're not making this up. This is a real job and I could do it. I love the work that I do, and knowing that I have like undergraduate students who have gotten something out of my mentorship, and having a really great lab and support system, and my family is super supportive. Those are the things that I can fall back on whenever I'm struggling. And then when I can get back on my feet, then I'll get back on my feet and continue the work.
Such an exciting, happy herping trip. I got to see a bunch of lizards, 2 cool species. It's always great when you see a lizard.